that, we have here the nucleus, okay? We have the nucleus in the center. So let's talk one by one. So cell wall or cell membrane. What's the difference between the cell wall and the cell membrane? The cell wall is more, huh?
You can continue. Sorry.
The cell wall, this is more rigid structure. This is just for protection from the outer source, okay? And the cell membrane is more functional. That the function of the cell membrane is to transport the substances around the cell. So they're going to release substances outside. They're going to let some substances to go inside. This is like the border. For example, in Uzbekistan, we also have the border, right? And in the cell, we have also the border, and this border is called the cell membrane, okay? We can also call the cell membrane as a plasma membrane or plasma membrane. Okay, this forms the outer boundary of all eukaryotic cells, the outer boundary of all eukaryotic cells. For example, in plants, you can see the cell membrane. In fungal cells, you know what's fungi? Грибы. Biz fungi yoki bo'lmasam zamburug'lar deb ataymiz. Or some protist cells. Jahongir, right? Do you know Uzbek as well?
No, I don't speak Uzbek. I speak only Russian, English.
Okay. So after that, the cell wall. And the cell wall is the most outermost layer. The cell wall is the most outer wall layer. It's outer compared to the cell membrane in some organisms, not all of them, okay? The cell membrane, we will learn a little bit later more. And the cytoplasm, what's the function of cytoplasm? The cytoplasm is a gel-like fluid. It looks like a gel-like fluid inside. This is inside the cell, and it surrounds all organelles. Here you can see, for example, Golgi apparatus, we will learn later, or mitochondrion, or you can see the lysosomes. You can see the rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? You can see smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So all of them are called the organelles, not organs. They called the organelles, okay? So all of them are organelles. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to, we are going to learn actually the organelles a little bit later when we come to the end of the cell, okay? Or cell explanation. So after that, the nucleus is in the center, but before moving to the nucleus, I wanted to say all organelles, we have more than 15 or 20 organelles, all of them you should learn. And the nucleus, as you said before, is control center of the cell. It's surrounded by the nuclear membrane. This is a nucleus, and it's surrounded by the nuclear membrane. It controls all processes which is happening inside the cell. Controls all the processes which is happening inside the cell. Okay, and after that, then inside we have the nucleolus. Inside the nucleus, we have small molecules which are also called the nucleolus. That functions in the ribosome synthesis. Further, we will learn the function as well. So this structure is very unique. Why the nucleus is very unique? Why? What do you think? Why the nucleus is very unique? Why? What do you think? Why? Because it only contains in eukaryotic cells, not prokaryotic. That's the reason. Because they distinguish this structure, which is called the nucleus. They distinguish what? Eukaryotes from the prokaryotes. The nucleus is only available in eukaryotic cells. Okay, so it distinguishes. Any questions so far? No? Cell wall and the membrane. So plants, bacteria, and fungi. You know what's bacteria, right? And you know what's plants, and you know what's fungi. They both have the cell wall and the cell membrane. Whereas animal cells have only a cell membrane. So as I said, here we have the cell membrane and the cell wall in some organisms. Only three organisms, they have the cell wall, the outer layer for the support. The first one is the plants. In all plants, we have the cell wall, despite the cell membrane. Of course, they have the cell membrane, but in the outer layer of the cell membrane, they have the cell wall as well. Okay, and in bacteria, so in bacteria you also have the cell wall, and in fungi we have also the cell wall. Okay, they have both the cell wall and the cell membrane. But our cells, human cell or the animal cell, they do not have the cell wall. In our cells we don't have the cell wall. Okay, we only have the cell membrane for exchange of substances. And the cell wall of bacteria is called the peptidoglycan. Then you should know for the exam purposes that the bacteria has the cell wall, and the name of the cell wall of bacteria is called peptidoglycan. Okay, they call peptidoglycan. What's the meaning of peptidoglycan? So peptido means refers to the protein, and the glycan means sugar. So bacterial cell wall is made of proteins and the sugars. Okay, let's look at the bacterial cell. What's happening in the bacterial cell? Yeah, it has three main layers in the bacterial cell. As you can see, this is the outer layer. This is the greenish layer. This one is greenish layer. It's called the capsule. Bacteria is encapsulated here, so it has the capsule. What do you think? Why the bacteria needs the capsule? Why? You must be active during the classes, guys. You should be active. Why the capsule? The capsule is for protection. The capsule is for protection. It's protecting it from outer sources. Okay, it's protecting it from the high temperature or from the cold temperature. It's in the capsule, so it's easy to survive in it. And it has the cell wall. Below the capsule, bacteria have the cell wall. The cell wall is also for protection. And below the cell wall, they have the plasma membrane or cell membrane. Okay, so it has three layers which cover. And also they have the flagellum. They have the flagellum. Why do you think they need the flagellum?
To
To
move.
move.
To move, exactly. Jahangir is right. It's for locomotion, so moving changing the location. And they have, which is called the pilus. This is the pilus. Why they need the pilus? What do you think?
Maybe to eat.
Good question, good answer. But that they need the pilus for exchanging the genetic material, for exchanging the DNA. One bacteria can give its DNA to another bacteria. For that, they need the transportation system. They don't have the hands to give it. Okay, so they have the pilus. They connect with each other with pilus. They're going to send their genetic information, which is called the DNA. Bacteria do not have the nucleus, but they have the DNA. It's important. They're going to send this DNA molecule into another bacteria. Why we need it? Why it's important?
maybe to exchange some information, something important.
About the antibiotics, right? So their main enemy is antibiotic. So they're going to change information regarding the antibiotics. For example, you had a cold or you had a flu. You took the antibiotics without the prescription of the doctor or with the prescription of the doctor. It doesn't matter. You have to take it 5 to 7 days or maybe 10 days, but you took it only 3 days, right? So half of your bacteria are dead, but half of your bacteria are still staying there. So what's going to happen? Half of that stayed bacteria in your lungs, for example, in your throat, in your pharynx, it doesn't matter which organ, in your nose, in your sinuses. So all of them, what's going to happen? They're going to change this information about the antibiotics with other bacteria. So what's going to happen then? Then those bacteria are going to have their immunity or the protective system against that antibiotics. The second time, if you take that antibiotics, it's not going to work anymore. That's why they exchange the material. If you increase the antibiotic types or antibiotic strengths, the bacteria is also going to increase its strengths and increase its type every time. Okay, that's why you should avoid taking antibiotics when you have a flu. Flu is just a viral caused mostly by the virus. You do not treat the virus with antibiotics. You only treat the bacteria with antibiotics. Okay, you kill the capsule, you kill the cell wall of bacteria only with antibiotics. But for viruses, you don't need antibiotics. Viral infections mostly they're going to take off from the organism after 7 days without any antibiotics. You just do the supportive therapy, you just give the water a lot, you just treat the symptoms, and that's it. Okay, so fimbriae, what do you think? Why bacteria need the fimbriae? I don't see anyone who's writing the notes. Maybe you're typing in your phones, or maybe some of you are writing, maybe some of you are typing. I'm not sure, but it's good to make notes. What do you think? Why we need the fimbriae?
This one is to eat.
Any other options? Fimbriae can be also used as an attachment. So it should attach somewhere. The bacteria should attach to somewhere. And it uses its fimbriae to attach to the walls of organisms. Okay, this is important for that. So what's the function of the cytoplasm? They also have the cytoplasm. What's the function of the cytoplasm, Mahbuba? Mahbuba, is she here? Please, before speaking, unmute yourself.
Sorry. So they need cytoplasm to transport proteins within the cell, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And there is some chemical reaction happen inside of them.
Okay, Nurhayat, what do you think? Why the cell needs cytoplasm? Nurhayat
They
Otabeko.
also they also work as a storage
Storage of what?
of ions, maybe.
Ions.
Yes, they
Hmm.
also maintain the shape of cell. I mean the
Yeah.
structure.
Yes, Jahangir, what do you think? Good.
And maybe to hold everything so it not will move.
Yes, holding the organelles. We have the organelles there, important structures, right? Organelles which are working. We have organs, but the cells have organelles which are functioning every time. So the function of the cytoplasm is what?
To hold the organelles.
To hold the organelles. Yes, that's right. Exactly. Okay. So what's the function of DNA, Munisa?
Keeps the information of anything of structure, and it's very
About
important. Yes,
what?
it keeps information about structure of, for example, plant or something.
It just keeps the information that you have. For example, it keeps all your information about your appearance, about your physical appearance. For example, the color of your hair or color of your eyes, the height, the skin color, everything is encoded in the DNA molecule. But in this case, all the information about the bacteria is stored in its DNA here in the center, okay? So what's the cell wall of bacteria is called, Saadat? What's the cell wall of bacteria is called?
Membrane. I don't know.
Now, membrane is different thing. So I'm asking about the cell wall. What's the cell wall of bacteria is called?
I don't know.
Nurhayat is going to help.
Cell wall. It's the outer layer.
What it is called? Jahangir?
Proto. The thing that you've been saying about the protein and sugar, am I right?
Yes, protein and sugar. This is called peptidoglycan.
Peptidoglycan.
Yes, it's called peptidoglycan. That's right. Mahbuba, that's good. Peptidoglycan. So let's move to the fungi. Fungi is like, this is an organism. Its cell wall is made of chitin. Let's look at the fungal cell wall. As you can see here, they have the cell membrane. Imagine this is the cell membrane. And above the cell membrane, we have a structure, cell wall structure, which is called the chitin. Okay, this is chitin, the cell wall of fungi. Okay, this is fungi. This is fungi, and cell wall of the fungi is called not chitin. Okay, it's chitin. And the plant cell wall, this is the plant cell, and in the plant cell wall we have what? The cell wall, which is called
Primary cell wall.
cellulose. Okay, the cell wall of the plant is called cellulose. Cell wall of bacteria is called Saudat neydi?
Peptidoglycan.
Peptidoglycan. Cell wall of fungi, Nurhayat.
Chitin.
Cell wall of plants, Munisa.
Cell membrane or something.
Plants. Cellulose.
It's
Cellulose.
capsule.
What do you mean?
Capsules.
No, capsula is only in bacteria. I'm asking you the cell wall of plants. The cell wall of the plant is called the cellulose, okay? Cool. Both the chitin and the cellulose, both of them are polysaccharides. What do you understand by polysaccharides? Mahbuba,
It's something.
I warned you that you will have a lot of questions.
I don't know, honestly. I don't have no idea.
Polysaccharide is a carbohydrate which has a long chain of the carbohydrates, okay? We will learn during the biomolecules. So you have what you have to know here to differentiate the cell wall and the cell membrane from each other. Huh? Jahangir, what do you want to say?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Cool. The next question is to Jahangir. The cell wall is found in all eukaryotic cells, including animal cells. True or false?
All cell walls found in a eukaryotic, including animals.
Yes.
I don't know about animals, but I know that cell walls are like in every bacteria, not bacteria, every cell. But you're saying that even the animal cells, or just animals in general?
The question is, the cell wall is found in all eukaryotic cells, including the animal cells. True or false?
I think it's true.
What do you think, Saodat?
I think it's true.
Nisa?
I think it's false.
Why?
Because cell on plants, bacteria, and fungi.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Good point. Mahbuba, what do you think?
It's also like false due to animals and people have all only cell membrane.
Yes, in animal cells, we have only cell membrane. The cell wall only exists in not only eukaryotic cell, but also prokaryotic cell, like bacteria. Only 3 organisms have cell wall: plants, bacteria, and fungi. Plants and fungi are eukaryotic cells, and bacteria is prokaryotic cell. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Okay, any questions? My second question is to Nurhayat. Why is cytoplasm important to the cell?
Cytoplasm, because it because it provides because it
Munisa?
In cytoplasm, there are different chemical reactions and process which happens within the organ within the cell.
Jahangir?
Because it's holding all of the organisms inside the
Organelles.
cell.
Organelles.
Organelles.
Yes, that's good. Saudat, give me one example to eukaryotic organism. Mahbuba.
Plants. Plants.
What?
Animals, plants,
Yes.
and fungi.
Yes. That's good. Okay, can we move? Do you have any questions? What's the cell wall of fungi is called, Nurhayat?
Of pep-
Jahangir?
Could you repeat
Chitin,
what's
right?
they called the cell wall of fungi, or I
Cell
couldn't
wall
hear
of
the last
fungi. Fungi, yes.
fungi.
It's not China. We don't call fungi, we call fungi. I know a lot of Jews in
Chitin, right?
China. What?
Fungi.
Chitin.
Yes, chitin. Yeah, true. Cell wall of plant is called Jahangir, what?
Chitin.
Cell wall of plants.
Oh, cell wall of plants. Cell wall of plants. Cellulose. Cellulose.
This is cellulose. Cell wall of bacteria, Munisa.
Peptidoglycol.
Peptidoglycan. Yes. Saudat, cell wall of plants.
Cellulose.
Cell wall of bacteria, Saudat.
Peptidoglycan.
Peptidoglycan. Okay, that's good. So cell membrane, let's talk about the cell membrane. Cell membrane is the outermost layer, right? The outermost layer of the cell. Imagine this is a cell, this is one cell, and I'm going to increase the cell membrane part here, and I'm going to explain you, okay? In the cell membrane of the cell, there is a lipid bilayer. So it contains 2 layers of lipids. My question is, what's lipid? What's lipid? Lipids are fats, they can be oils, they can be waxes. Do you remember oils? Lipids, they're just the lipids. Lipid is a type of biological molecule, which is called biomolecule. This is mostly made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And they are insoluble in water. You cannot make it soluble in water. They are insoluble in water, okay? Lipids are fats, they can be oils, they can be waxes, but in this case, they are phospholipids. What's the meaning of phospholipids? What they contain in the structure, they contain the lipid and plus phosphorus. Okay, that's why they call the phospholipids. That's good. So this is the 2 layer of the phospholipids. This is the first layer of the phospholipid in the cell membrane. This is the first layer, and we have the second layer of the phospholipid, okay, below. So it contains 2 structures. Each phospholipid, this is one phospholipid, second, third, and the fourth, okay. And each phospholipid is individual. Let's see, what kind of structures are there in phospholipid. I'm going to get the one and I'm going to explain that one to you. And each phospholipid, we have the heads. This is the head of the phospholipid. And we have the tail. This is the tail of phospholipid. Okay. The tail, as you can see here, the tails are located in the middle. Those are the tails. Those are the tails. They are located in the middle. And in the outer layers or inner ears, this is the inner layer because we have cytoplasmic fluid inside of the cell. This is cytosolic fluid. And we have interstitial fluid, which is outside of the cell. That means this is the outer layer. Okay, both of them in the phospholipids, the heads are facing to the out and inner portions where the fluid is available. Okay, where the fluid is available, the head is there. The head is in the outer and inner portion. That's why the head is called hydrophilic head. Okay, this is head, and the head is hydrophilic. What's the meaning of hydrophilic? Who can answer? What's the meaning of hydrophilic?
Something with water.
Something which
Attracts to
What?
water.
which interacts the water, which loves the water. Exactly. So hydrophilic means something that loves water or interacts with water or attached to water. It's already written. You can see my screen. And the hydrophobic means hydro means water and phobic means hating, which is actually hating the water. That's why these tails are going to repelled by water. Okay, tails are repelled by water. What does it mean? The water molecules cannot directly come into the cell because this is lipid part, okay, hydrophobic part won't let the water molecules come inside or cross. Okay, this is what makes the cell unique. But another question is how water molecule is going to get into the cell. If hydrophobic tails are not letting us. How? Who can answer? Anyone? Maybe they have teleport. Maybe there are teleports which bring water molecule from out to inside. What do you think?
Has holes.
Hmm?
Little holes.
Holes, yes, exactly. They can be holes, so they can be channels, right? So in the membrane, they can be channels which transport the water molecules or other molecules which are hydrophilic, right? Which substances can cross the membrane very easily, hydrophilic or hydrophobic?
Hydrophilic.
How hydrophilic is going to pass if we have the barrier here, which is hydrophobic tail? How is it possible? It's not possible. That's why hydrophobic substances cross very easily, because these tails will let only hydrophobic substances to cross. Okay? Got it? I can't hear Manisa if you're speaking to me.
Can you one more time explain the difference between hydrophilic and hydrophobic?
Okay. So hydrophilic actually means it doesn't depend on the head. So hydrophilic means loves water, something that loves the water, something which attracts the water, something which is associated with water. Phile means love, hydro means water, so interaction with water. Okay. So we have the hydrophobic substances as well. Here, in this case, hydrophobic tail. Phobic means afraid. Hydro means water. So that means repelled by water. So it's repelling the water molecule. If you're going to get, for example, the water, and if you pour here the lipid, what's going to happen, or oil, what's going to happen? They're not going to mix to each other, because the oil is hydrophobic. It detaches from itself the water molecule. Okay, so I'm asking you, what kind of substances can cross this membrane very easily, hydrophilic or hydrophobic? Always consider hydrophobic substances to get inside. Why? Because the tail won't let the hydrophilic molecules to go inside, because this is going to detach the water molecules. It will repel the water molecules outside again. Only the hydrophobic substances can cross directly. Okay, only hydrophobic substances can cross the membrane directly without any protein channels. But what if the hydrophilic substances are going to go inside? Of course, hydrophilic substances are going also inside, but with specialized channels, with specialized channel proteins. Okay, this is the channel protein. We will learn it later. Munisa, if you want to talk, you have to unmute yourself.
I
Got it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you speak Uzbek?
Yes, I can.
There is a video on YouTube, my video regarding this topic. You can go and watch it actually in your free time if you have any questions, if you didn't understand. Okay. So, so in the cell membrane, we have the lipid bilayer. This is the bilayer. I'm reading this one, lipid bilayer. The first layer, this is the second layer. And the membrane is selectively permeable. What's the meaning of selectively permeable? What do you think, guys? What's the meaning of selectively permeable?
Selectively means that it chooses what to not what to let in and what some other things not to let in.
Yes, exactly. Selectively permeable, that means they're going to select what's going to go inside of the cell and what's going to go outside of the cell. They're going to select. That's why this is called selectively permeability. It means it lets some things to go inside and restricts the passage of others outside. Okay, this is called selective permeability, and one of the characteristics of the cell membrane is that it is selectively permeable. The characteristics of the head is hydrophobic, right? The head is hydro.
Philic.
Of course, the head is hydrophilic, not hydrophobic. Okay, and the tail is hydrophobic.
Phobic.
Why we call them polar or non-polar? And the head is polar and tail is non-polar. Why the head is polar? Why do you think the head is polar? Because if you say this is the pole, this is the south pole, this is the north pole, both of the heads are located on poles. That's why we call it polar. Okay, and the tails are non-polar. Okay, just learn it like this. So non-polar tails are hydrophobic and polar heads are hydrophilic. And the primary lipids of the cell, the primary lipids, the lipid of the cell is called the phospholipid, not another kind of lipid, okay? Actually, the phospholipids are the primary lipids of the cell membrane. Cool? Any questions so far? Any questions? Mahbuba, was it a good revision to you? Have you learned that before?
No, I don't learn it like clearly like this, but it was clear for me from you.
Okay, cool. In the next lectures, it will be more and more clear to you, I really hope. Jahangir, what do you think?
Thank you.
You haven't studied biology, right, Jahangir?
I've studied it in a school. I also used to study at Central University a year ago, but I just forgot everything. Uh, and this one is not that hard, but like sometimes it's a bit confusing about hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Just the name's a bit confusing for me.
I see. Cool. So what about the cell structure, cell walls, and the membranes? Was it easy to you?
Not that hard. The only hard part is peptidoglycan, and that's all. Like other things, I can remember it easily. Just like these names, like huge, hard, these pronunciations, names. It's just a bit hard for me to remember.
Mhm. Cool. What about Nur Hayat? Was it clear to you? This lecture actually I'm learning you and you're learning me. I'm learning you because I have to get the strategy how I should teach you. Okay, so Nur Hayat, how do you understand this lecture?
Yes, everything was very clear, and I understand everything.
Okay, good. Any questions to me?
No.
Saudat Atajanova?
Yeah, that was clear. I just have to revise.
You must revise. Munisa Timirova? Any questions?
Yeah, everything is clear, but no,
But what?
a little bit confusing.
Okay, which part is confusing to you more?
The names of cells of plants, some bacteria. I'm confused.
This is cell wall, right? This is not confusing. This is the first time you're learning. And that's why if you repeat it in the morning tomorrow and in the evening today, you're going to understand everything for sure. It's not confusing. It's just terminology related, if I guess, terminology related problem. Okay. And in the next lecture, we're going to learn 4 ways of passage through the membrane. So the substances are going to pass through the membrane in 4 ways. The first is simple diffusion. The second is facilitated diffusion. The third is active transport. The fourth is bulk transport. What do you think? What's diffusion to you? What's diffusion? What is diffusion? What do you understand by diffusion?
Maybe not to let something happen, like diffusion. I think they're like similar words.
Diffusion means moving of substances from one place to another place. This is called diffusion. For example, if you use the perfume, the smell of the perfume is going to go until the next room or until the corridor. From one place, it's moving to another place, and this is called diffusion. So molecules from the outside of the cell, they're going to go inside of the cell, and this process is also called the diffusion. Moving of molecules from one place to another is called diffusion, and we have the types of the diffusion. We have the passive diffusion, active diffusion, and after that, facilitated diffusion, and bulk transport. So we're going to learn all of them in the next lecture. Okay, until that, you have to revise the cell membrane and the structure of the cell, prokaryotic, eukaryotic cell differences. Okay, any questions to me for now?